Yeah, go for it. Let her rip. I'll tell you if I can hear anything. I'm waiting. There's a delay. Nope, still no audio. I hear myself. Would you like assistance, Nick? Okay, 1 second. Let me get there. I still don't hear you. I've got you on my YouTube pulled up. Justin, do you hear him on YouTube? No, no audio. Okay. No. I hear myself though.
I got audio on it, Nick, on YouTube now. W1FRD.
Really? That's weird. We don't hear it. And it's gone again, people are saying. Yeah, check OBS first. See if OBS microphone's muted. I'll let you do it. No. Okay. Can I take control really quick? Okay.
For those out in RF land, we are trying to figure out some audio difficulties. Stand by. KM6 ZTH.
Yeah, you carry on.
I hear you both on the repeater and the YouTube.
How? Nobody else on YouTube hears this. I think he's hearing me. I think that's the difference. Yeah, I think that's... Yeah, I'm looking at it.
1FRD here, Connor, also on YouTube.
Let's check. Let's see. Which one's your mic? Alright, let's try
One,
that.
2. Yeah, now it's picking the mic.
Let's see. Let me see on YouTube. Yep. Okay, we're working.
Okay, we should be good.
All right,
okay.
There we go.
All right.
Yep.
All right, KN60AL here. Like always, there's some kind of weird audio thing going on. So, it seems like it has something to do every time with when I have a power outage and my computer goes out. So maybe I should invest in like a battery backup or something. But anyway, carrying on, the 2 Meter Crew Anti-Net meets every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Or 8:08 in this case, 3 a.m. UTC on the W6VVR repeater, which is 145.470 with a negative offset of 600 kilohertz and a PL tone of 127.3. You can also reach us via Echolink at W6VVR-R. Also on all star nodes 51094, which is always connected to the W6VVR repeater, or 512342. Also through DMR Talk Group 3174117, YSF Reflector 50462, and through Freestar All-Star Links 2195 and 53377. The Anti-Net's also being live streamed right here on Northwest Ham Shack. Before we get going with the topic, I just wanted to take a minute and see if there's anybody out there that's new or has just recently got their license and wants to come in and say hi. If that's you, come on in now. All right. I did not hear anybody, but I am getting all kinds of YouTube comments on battery backups now. So hey, that's one way to get good recommendations for hardware is just get on live and screw something up, and there will be somebody there to give you a recommendation. Anybody else out there wants to check in? Anybody just listening on their way home? Come on in now. And we do have a comment here. Mel KC2FKW is at least new to our channel. If you do have a way to connect digitally, you're more than welcome to come in and say hi. There's a list in the description with all of the digital connections, and they're scrolling across the bottom of the screen if you'd like to join in. Anybody else out there before we get started on our topic?
KJ6HMV guest check-in.
All right, I think I got Kilo 6 Hotel Mike Tango, if I got that right. Come on back. How you doing tonight?
Hey, doing well. Almost at Kilo Juliet 6 Hotel Mike Victor, checking in via Echo Link. Just watching you on the YouTube, and I got the YouTube link from Connor K7CBL. This is KJ6HMV in San Francisco.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks for checking in with us tonight, KJ6HMV, and thank you, Connor, for the recommendation. You sound really good on Echo Link. How is the signal coming into you?
Signal's coming in just fine on Echo Link, and you're coming just fine on YouTube.
Well, I'd say that's 100% improvement from the start. So there we go. I appreciate you checking in. Anybody else out there?
The one FRD is Fred here. You already heard from me, but I'll do an official check-in.
All right, Fred, I'd be really careful how you use the word official around here, but take it away. How's it going tonight?
I got off work today, got that YouTube notification from Northwest Ham Shack channel on YouTube, and yeah, everything's going fine. Recently I've been playing with my FD3VR, but I need some better antennas to work with ham.org.
Yeah, all that big money spent on networking and advertising must be paying off for the 2MC and Northwest Ham Shack. I'm just kidding. We don't spend any money on any of that. But thanks for checking in. Anybody else out there want to chime in and say hi? All right, nothing being heard. We are going to move on to our topic. So tonight we thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about books. So in a very digital world, there is a lot of information online. There's a lot of amazing YouTubers out there that have a ton of information that they put out on a regular basis, and you can pretty much search till your heart's content to find information on a given topic. But we wanted to take a little bit of a step back and talk about books and kind of how they incorporate into the ham radio hobby and how they can be useful to us. And I'll just say a footnote. When I first got my ham radio license, one of the very first things I did was I got this for a small amount. I got like an antenna and a bunch of old stuff that this old ham had, and one of the things was a box of books. And I went through them, and some of them weren't super useful to me, and some of them I thought were kind of cool. And I've kept a lot of them, and I keep them on the shelf, and I actually look at them on a fairly regular basis, especially when I'm trying to learn how to do things like build antennas and looking for different types of antennas that I can make, and understanding different things about the hobby. So I think books are a great way to do that, and they're a good source. They still work when the power goes out. If you are looking for something to just sit back and kind of divulge and learn a little bit more, it's a great place to start. So with that, we've got a couple of recommendations on kind of where to start. I'm going to let this drop.
On FRD, Fred here. Yeah, about a year ago, oh boy, how can you do this? K7CD, TJ, he recommended getting a AWR handbook, but not a new one. Get one in the 70s or 80s. So I picked up one on eBay, and it has lots of good information. Didn't cost very much either.
One more time on what the name of the book was. Was that the ARRL handbook or the ARRL operating manual?
Well, it's the yearly AWR handbook, and what TJ was telling us was the new ones aren't very good, and they're not even hardbound books. But if you go back a couple of years, the information really hasn't changed much. And you can pick them up on eBay pretty cheaply. I think I got it 19. Much money. Like less than $10 shipped.
Okay, yeah, that's actually one of the books that was on our list, so we'll go right into that one. That's a very popular series of books that are put out. It's a 6-volume set, and you can. So I'm not going to go over all the different ways you can get these books used, but there are a number of different ways you can go about getting them less expensive. You might have an Elmer in your area that doesn't have a use for it anymore, or is willing to give you some copies. The copy of the ARRL handbook that I have is, 2019. It's a hardbound series, and yeah, I don't know what the difference is between the older ones versus the newer ones, but I do know that they, at least for me, have a ton of really good information. This is just a link for those of you watching on YouTube to the ARRL website. And they have those I believe this is the hardbound set, or it might be the softbound, but it's for sale. It's $59.95. And one of the things that Jim had brought up in our discussions earlier this week is that it may seem like a lot of money. He's got a set right there. It may seem like a lot of money up front, but if you spread that out over the amount of time that you can spend learning from these books, it's really not super expensive. I mean, we've spent far more than that on radios and different things like that. So if it's something that you can get new, great. If not, maybe reach out to somebody and see if there's a way that you can get one used. And it looks like Jim just left because he's going to put it away. You got anything to say on the ARRL handbook, Jim?
Yes, I do. Volume number 4. Most valuable volume they've got. Everything else has to do with building stuff and testing stuff and everything, but this is all the antenna stuff. And it's almost as good as the ARRL antenna book. It's a little thinner, but definitely, I would say probably the best of the 6-volume set. And it is a good set, though. If you want to know about 555 timers and all kinds of neat stuff, and resistors and transistors and power supplies and doodads, that volume, those 6 volumes have it all. So if you're into building things, or you think you're going to be into it, it's worth it. And like Nick said, there's got to be somebody around that's got it, just like me, that's got it. I'm happy to loan these out to people. I haven't read through all of them. I don't do that much kit building, but if people wanted to borrow them, I'd loan them out, and I think most anybody else would. KJ6FNP.
All right.
I'm
Thank you, Jim. Moving on to our next book. So this book I haven't actually ever read. I don't own a copy of it, but I am going to leave a footnote here that if you're interested in this book and you want to learn more, Ham Radio 2.0, Jason, KC5HWB, just recently did a review of the book. And so if you want to learn some more information, check out his YouTube channel, and you can learn a little bit more about it. But this is Ham Radio for Dummies. It sounds like I could use some of the information in this book, though, just by the title. But never judge a book by its cover, right? So it's worth taking a look at. Is there anybody here in the group that has read this book or owns a copy of one of the versions?
I had the second edition. This is KJ6FMP. I had the second edition. Gave it away to somebody else after I had gleaned all the good information that I wanted out of it. And so the fourth edition, I saw the same video. He does a nice review of it. The thing about the fourth edition that the first three editions don't touch on very much is all this digital stuff that's going on. So there's a lot of stuff in there that if you take the third edition and fourth edition, it's almost like he rewrote the book. It's the same guy that wrote all four of them. And a lot more of the digital stuff that's going on that people are really latching onto. So I don't have fourth edition.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for that, Jim. KN60AL. So yeah, if you're interested in this book, it can be had. You can get it on Amazon. It's about $24, $23.49 plus tax. So check it out. Another good book. All right, so the next one we're going to go to, this is getting a little bit more technical, but it's grounding and bonding for amateur radio. Also an ARRL sponsored book. It's available from the ARRL website for $22.95. I don't know. I think this is the newest version, and there's some older versions out. Supposedly the newer version has some really good information that wasn't in the previous versions. If Kellen was here, he'd be raving about this right now because this is where he lives. This is his thing. But another great option if you're looking for more information on how to ground and bond your station, as well as if you're getting ready to put up any big antennas or anything like that.
Yeah, this is Jim again, KJ6FMP. It's a good book. I borrowed it from somebody a while back when I had grand dreams of this really, kick-ass ham shack and everything with a whole bunch of radios in it. And so I haven't done that yet. So I gave the guy the book back, but they had a lot of good tips in it. There's a couple of good videos I've seen on grounding and bonding from some of the really old timers that are doing videos. There's a guy in Rockland, can't remember his name. His first name is Jim. I forget his call sign. It's a 4-letter starts with a W. Anyway, a lot of the stuff that was in this book is talked about these guys that have built really big, elaborate ham shacks, lots of radios, lots of other equipment. So it's pretty critical information. I would say it's worth the $23, and I do intend to buy my own copy when I do actually do something besides my 2980 sitting here on the desk.
All right, KN60AL here. Going to take a quick drop and see if there's anybody out there that maybe somebody out there has a book that they're interested in or that they've been reading or that they've read in the past that they thought was really helpful to them in the hobby. If there's anybody out there that has a book suggestion, come on in. Somebody tried. Did you guys anybody hear that on RF? No. Well, I saw it key up. If somebody's trying to come in, try one more time. All right, no dice. We can. That's okay though. We can feed you books all night long. We got a whole list of them here. Next one up. This is I haven't. I also have not read this one. But I think I'm gonna buy it because it looks really interesting to me. Portable operating for amateur radios. There's a couple ways you can get this book. You can get it digitally, or you can buy it through paperback, both on Amazon. This book's entire basis is for portable operation for amateur radio, and that's one thing that I always love to do. I like getting out and going out and using my station portable, and so it just seems like a book that I could really dive into. Does anybody here own that? Nobody? All right. Is there anybody
I
out?
do not have it.
Is there anybody out there on the air listening in that owns or has read this book, Portable Operating for Amateur Radio? All right, nothing being heard. It sounds like we're gonna have to get it, Jim. We're gonna have to get it. We're gonna have to read it. We're gonna have to talk about it. We need to get the author of this name out there. It takes a lot of work to get a book out in like a published phase, and so you really have to put a lot of effort into it, even more so than what you would do if you were to put an article online. You can do that relatively easily. But in order to get a book actually published, it takes a lot of effort and it takes a lot of time and money. So these people really put, their life's work into making these things available to you. And so typically you can find more fruitful information out of them. Just a heads up. The next one up is the ARRL Handbook for Radio Communications. Oh, no, we already talked about that one. The ARRL Antenna Book, I'm sorry. So the ARRL and
read your chat.
Where?
You go on with the antenna book, and then we'll go back to the operating manual afterwards. Please.
Oh, okay. All right. So the what was the one that I lost where I was at? Oh, the ARRL Antenna Book. So the ARRL Antenna Book, the normal one, is $49.95, and it's available at the ARRL website. One thing I'd like to encourage you to do is just go on ARRL and look up different books that are available, because there are so many different options, and you might find one that maybe isn't this exact book but meets your needs. I have a couple of different antenna books. One of them that I really like, and I'll go over that book in a minute, but it's not listed on ARRL, I don't believe, or I'm sorry, it is, so I'll go over it now. Basic Antennas. This one is $29.95. I own that book and I really like it, and I've used it quite a bit when I'm trying to build new stuff. But if you're building dipoles, or it's something where you're more into HF, there's books that cater to those needs. All kinds of different information. So I encourage you to go check that out. And they do have discounts for members. So if you become an ARRL member, you can get a discount price on a lot of these books. I'm going to let this drop. Okay, I've been asked to go back to the ARRL operating manual. We didn't cover that one. That's right. This book is $24.95. I haven't read this one. I'm going to pass it over to Jim. I think you might have a little bit of experience with it.
Yeah, this is one of the first books I got when I got my license 12, 13 years ago. And it was really helpful because it starts out, you can see right there the bullet points, assembling a station. And that doesn't mean these giant ham shacks that people have. A station is your equipment, right? And then your operating license is you being licensed to operate that station. So if you don't understand that you actually have two licenses, you have a station license and an operator's license, you do. So not too many people have two licenses for the same thing to be able to do it together. But it walks you through how to set up a station, basic operating procedures. All this stuff is really great because it's good for the beginner, because it's not super deep, super technical. There's not a whole bunch of formulas and how do you measure an antenna and things like that. I'm doing an end fed half wave. I don't want it to be a 20-meter one. What do I do? It's more basic than that. And I think it's on the order of the ham radio for dummies with less of the humor. And it covers more, a broader spectrum of subjects. So great book. Like I said, I had it when I first started. I plan to get a couple as gifts to people that get a new license, because that's how you support the new people that come into the hobby, is give them stuff that's going to help them, either spend time with them, teach them, show them, train them, expose them to things they may not have the capability to do, bring them to where your radios are, whatever you can do. But this is a great book to give to somebody as a gift. That, and I think the Dummies book would probably be pretty good either before or after they get licensed. But either way, it's a good book. This is Jim, KJ6FNP. That's all I got.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Nick, KN60AL here. One last book before we wrap this up is the ARRL's Small Antenna for Small Spaces. And the reason why this is important, I can't tell you how many times I've talked to, I'm going to see if I can make this a little bigger. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people, and one of the things that they've said is, well, I can't really do HF because I don't have room. And I can't tell you how much further from the truth that can be. This book is dedicated to, smaller areas, things that you have to consider if you're in an HOA and you have to have non-visible antennas, things like that. Super useful information for people that just can't put up a huge tower or anything like that. I definitely recommend checking that out. Now, I've seen some videos and some pictures and all kinds of different situations where people have gotten on every band in HF from like the weirdest contraptions that you could imagine. And I'm not saying that they're the most effective, but they get you on the air. They get you into a position where you can talk and at least listen. And that's all part of the fun of experimenting in the hobby. So hopefully for those of you out there that are maybe feeling a little bit deflated, like, hey, I'm in this hobby, but I don't really want to go too much deeper because I'm kind of constrained by my living situation, this book can help you. This book can help get you into a position where you're more empowered to kind of branch out and do different things with the hobby that you might not have considered doing given your restrictions. So anybody else have a comment they want to make on that?
Yeah, this is Jim, KJ6FNP. I've always got something to say, so here I go. Yeah, good book. Borrowed it from somebody because I thought I had small spaces until I went to go return it to the guy and saw his itty bitty little apartment that he operates out of, and his very, very creative antennas that he had rigged up to stay out of trouble with the management and with the neighbors and stuff like that. He was all QRP because he didn't want to do any interference. He was very low power, but it was very effective, some of the stuff he did. Speaking of videos that you said that, there's lots of people that put videos up about everything under the sun. Saw one the other day about a dude who took slinkies, spread them out both ways, made this funky off-center dipole type of a thing, and wrapped the coil around the rail for the longer leg of it, and not only that, but the overhang on his balcony 3 floors up, and I think he was in a DC area or Maryland, somewhere back east, had metal on top of it. And the dude was getting out and he was making contacts every single day. I don't know. I don't remember what frequencies or what bands, but anyway, you can get super creative. You don't need to be, rock star and I'm going to talk to Russia with 9 bazillion watts or whatever. But reading some of these books on how to do this stuff will get your juices flowing, and try them out. Everything about amateur radio is about experimenting. There's a lot of science behind it, but there's not like a formula for how you set up your station, how you set up your antenna. Field day is a great example of what happened. I wish Kellen was here. The 160 meter, pop-up antenna that he was just like, doggone it, I just want to do this. strung up an antenna, put it on a pole out in the middle of field day, and actually made a contact with it. And he just wanted to see if it would work. He had no idea. He just completely winged it. I mean, literally no science behind that whatsoever, and it worked. So, don't get caught up in the fear. Open up the doors and just go for it. If you don't make any contacts, fine. Figure it out. Keep trying. That is all I got. KJ6FMP.
I'm letting the repeater breathe. KN6DAL. We did have a question in the chat here from Nick Lutz. Any good book recommendations for upgrading from tech to general or from general to extra? Awesome question. I haven't used one of these books, but I have heard raving reviews about them, and that is the Gordon West series on upgrades. I'm seeing big thumbs up from Jim. I don't know if Justin, have you ever read any of Gordon West's books?
It's funny we did a topic on books. I would not be a part of the 2 Meter Crew book club. That's not my method of learning, but I think that's the point here, right? Is that there's a lot of different ways to learn things.
Right.
And that's exactly the point, is whether it's a website, YouTube, talking to some guy, you got to find what motivates you, what gives you the information. So, no, but I have heard raving reviews of Gordon West myself. That's what I just commented, actually.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've heard the same thing. So I would recommend those if you're interested in diving into upgrading your license, and you're looking for a book to help you do that. That would be the way I would recommend going about it. I've heard a lot of good things about kind of how he teaches and how he breaks things down. I do want to snap to a comment that Fred just made. It says that he just bought the small antenna book on eBay for $9.79 shipped. So Fred, tonight has been a success because of that comment. That one comment. That's if we can just help one person push them in the right direction, or in any direction, I guess, it's a win, And so that's super cool to hear. I'm glad that you found it, saved a bunch of money, found it used. That could have been something that just ended up in the shredder or in the garbage at some point, and you're able to bring it back to life. So hopefully you get it before the next Antinet, and maybe you can share a little bit about what you found in it. So appreciate that. I'm gonna let the repeater drop, see if anybody else is out there, wants to check in and say hi. If you're listening on air or through any of the digital modes, come on in now. All right, nothing heard. KN6DAL. Jim, I think you had something you wanted to say about the Gordon West books.
Yeah. So a little testimonial here. This is KJ6FNP Jim. I had my technician's license for 11 years. Kind of bounced around back and forth just with a handheld. Didn't really participate too much in stuff. Life was busy. Things sort of slowed down a few years ago. Got the ARRL book to get up to my general. Failed the test twice. How I do that, I don't know, because I have a pretty close to a photographic memory. I memorize stuff, but the book was horrible for that. And I'm, just telling you the truth. Somebody told me get the Gordon West book. Got it. I aced the test. So then about 4 months later, took the technician test, missed one question. Amateur extra test using Gordon West book, one question missed. Spectacular books. I can't say you will totally rock the test every time, but you will pass the test the first time. I'm sure of it. So yeah, they are really good books.
All right, thanks, Jim. KN6DAL, I'm going to take one last stop and see if there's anybody else out there on air or on any digital modes that wants to check in. I think that's all we've got for books tonight. If anybody has any other suggestions, come on in now and say them, or just come in and say hi. All right, nothing being heard. We are going to pop the Zoom chat onto YouTube. So if anybody wants to join in on our conversation on YouTube, you're welcome to come into Zoom and say hi. And with that, I'm going to return the repeaters and all of the digital connections back to normal operation. I hope everybody has a good night, and hopefully we see you over in Zoom. If I can get it posted.
So Gordon West books, are these like read it cover to cover books? Are they like read chapters and sections where you feel like you're not strong enough? What would you say there, Jim?
He's got it organized, not in series or anything. He groups the question bank questions together that would normally live together. And so as you study through one of those sections, you're getting every single question bank question. It's 435, I think.
I'm listening from any call.
Go ahead. That was Freestar.
Okay. So you're really getting, I don't know, for lack of better terminology, the full Monty on that subject matter, every question. And the thing that I liked about his book was there was the question, there was the 4 answers, and then there's always at least a little blurb, sometimes a paragraph or 2, that explains exactly why that is the most correct answer versus the right answer, because there are usually a couple of answers. And I used to write tests for the Navy. I was a master training specialist. So you wrote a test, and we always called it multiple guess. You had 4 potential answers, as we called them. There was 1 correct answer and 3 distractors, is really what it boils down to. And so he breaks that out and explains why, especially on certain questions where it's like, wow, either one of those sounded right, looked right, calculated right, but there's just some little variance in the wording of the question that makes one the correct answer and the other one's not. So I just really like the way he did that. It's just a different style. The ARRL book is lots and lots of just big long paragraphs and then a little footnote that this question 2E01. It's like, now I got to go flip around to that or whatever, and it's just so much more concise, precise, and it flows really well.
Well, that makes a hell of a lot of sense, But I think that becomes one of the tricks that we talked about, like ARRL books. Some of the older editions are worth picking up. But when we come to testing, that's not the case. Because now you're training yourself to have bad info then, because those test pools are different. So being current on the Gordon West or even the ARRL test books, right? It's a matter of being current with what we're going through. So
yeah, they always go through the question bank, for every 4 years they refresh that question bank. New things come along that 5 or 10 years ago, like a lot of this digital stuff, and some of the other frequencies change that we have permissions on or we lose permissions on. Most of the time we're getting more permissions, but you want to know about that stuff, because I guarantee you those changes, they're always in the question bank. Always. So it behooves you to blow the 15 or 20 or $25 for the book. He even has an audio version that you can buy. You can combo them. You can get the audio version. So like if you drive a lot and you just want to listen to just kind of immerse yourself in it as best you can while you're driving, I think it's worth the extra. I think it's like $9 for the audio DVD. So
Well, I'll throw another concept here too. I know my local club, we do pre-COVID, we did ham crams.
Yeah.
But we always buy the current Gordo West books and submit them to our library, so people have an option to go and pick up a book, right? So if you
Sure.
don't want to go buy a book, check out your library, right? I
Right.
mean, how much better do you get than free? So,
Yeah.
you know, that's the other thing is we always forget about the library. It's a great resource to go and find stuff. But I do think what's fascinating, I mean, I've got some books because like you, Nick, there, I picked up a whole bunch of stuff from a Silent Key when I first became a ham. I ended up with this pile of stuff, and I've slowly been disseminating stuff or throwing stuff out. But I always forget, I have like a pile of probably old books, and while I'm not a book reader, there's probably a lot of really good nuggets of information in those. And that's the key to it, right? Is when you're looking for something, it's not always what's in the newest book, but maybe that nugget that happens to be in the older book because they explained it in a way that actually makes sense the way your brain takes it in compared to how somebody else is putting it now too.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was reading through a couple of these comments. Dan said, good evening to everybody, and had a question of, has anybody recommended old magazines? You could probably get a lot of the old, I forget the name of that magazine. What's the subscription magazine?
QST.
QST, yeah.
Yeah.
I've never even read a QST magazine, but oh, there you go. There you go.
Just got it today. Just got it today.
But,
Youth hams on the air.
yeah.
Young people, new hams.
So I would imagine, yeah, somebody's probably got stacks of those laying around that you could, and there's always some kind of information, you know. Yeah, and then Nick, that's a good point that he made, that he's got a Gordon West book, but it's actually from 2016 to 2020. I'm going to be honest with you, I've read a few of the different series of questions, and they are all so similar that if you read into the reasons why the answers are the way they are, then you're probably going to pass, even if you read an older book. It may not have the questions verbatim what's going to be asked, but the concept is there. And like Jim said, you know, he failed the test and then read through this twice, and then read through this and then did really, really well. So that just goes to show that some, you know, people learn in different ways, and some people, you know, don't do really good. And so I'm glad that Justin had brought up the audio books. You know, there's all kinds of ways to get information in, but you know, maybe you combine them, and that's something that helps you. But just anything to do to kind of help you get on the air or help you progress in the hobby, where you might not try it because you didn't know if it was going to be effective or not. So, what did Dan say? Quarterly 1993 on a do-it-yourself 20-meter low-profile beam written by an RF engineer. Oh, he's got an excellent article on it.
Yeah, Communications Quarterly is a magazine.
Okay.
An old radio and communications magazine. The QST magazine, they have a digital archive on on ARRL that with your ARRL membership, you have access to that. So you can do that. They also have a new magazine they started a little over a year ago called On the Air, and it's tailored specifically to new people who've just received their license. And that's a good magazine. I don't know if it's monthly yet. I think they were going to do that quarterly or bi-monthly, but nonetheless, it's a good magazine. I've read through a couple of the issues of that. But man, the archives they have on QST magazine, I mean, decades and decades. And a lot of that stuff is, you know, it'll last in time immemorial because, you know, an antenna is an antenna and as an antenna, and they've got some of these wacky, crazy ideas that these guys did back in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s. Totally doable still. Nothing has changed as far as, oh, I'm going to try that crazy antenna idea I saw in the 1974 August version of QST. And you could do it and it'll work because, you know, it's just wires, man. There ain't no chips and stuff and all that. That's the cool thing about some of this stuff is, you know, it doesn't change much.
So I found that one of the cool things that the ARRL does is some of their podcasts, right? So they have a similar podcast to that On the Air magazine that you were saying, but they also have some of their more advanced ones. And they do that. They refer to their older QST articles. And so the point is, you're driving along listening to a podcast. Well, you don't have a way of writing that down or whatever, but maybe you can remember to gather and go and look when you get to where you're at. Go get the article for that thing you're looking for. And it's that combination of however we all learn to go and grab those bits of information to get it done. But I think the most important part of all of it is it's just getting on the air and doing it, right? Sometimes we all make these excuses. Oh, well, there's this and that. And it's like just put a wire up in the air and key up. Like there's that part too, right? Like you have to just do it. So you can't be afraid of it. You got to try it. And if you blow your radio up, that's just a better excuse to go buy a new one. So.
Yeah. And you're right about that. And really what it is, most of the people that I talk to that are like, oh yeah, I still need to go get this, or I still need to go get that, they're new licensees. 99% of it is just fear of grabbing the mic and pushing the button and going, KJ6 FNP, is anybody out there? Please talk to me. Please tell me you're hearing me. I mean, and honestly, people would laugh about that, but then they would, you know what? They'd grab their mic and get back on there. Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. Thanks a lot. They'll answer you. That's the thing. And so I, what I've done, I don't know, I've Elmered probably about 15 or 20 people over the years. And I've always taken my handheld and met them somewhere where I know there's a clear shot to a repeater near them. I mean, I've gone all the way to Sacramento. I've gone all over the place, all over the Bay Area over the years to do that, because it's their comfort zone. It's their domain. Meet me at this mall. What's your favorite mall? Let's go there. We'll go have lunch. We'll go run around, and then we'll go up to the highest part of the mall. And if we can find an open roof panel, we're going to climb up that ladder and sneak up there, because altitude is your friend. And, or do you work in a tall building, a high-rise building? Let's go up there. I work at a hospital that has 17 or 14 floors on it. So, if I really wanted to, I could go up to the helipad, which is really cool because that's another 2 floors up. But, you could go out on some balconies up there and man, you can propagate serious on a 5-watt handheld, so getting them to do that. And if they're not licensed yet, you're with them. You can have them talk on the radio. That's totally fine, right? That'll break the fear before they have the license, right? Yeah. They're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. I just pushed that button and said, hi, this is George, and I'm using KJ6 FNP's radio. He's teaching me about amateur radio. People will jump on. It's like pileups at Parks on the Air and stuff like that. They will pile up on that guy just to be able to answer them and get their excitement going that somebody just answered me. It's, it's really cool. It's unbelievable to see that look in their face when they do that, and it works. And now they believe it. You can YouTube your butt off watching other people propagate, but it's so much more fun to do it yourself.
I had a friend come to me. He is big in the racing industry, and he got his hands on these 2 Baofangs, and he wanted a way to originally just talk back and forth. So I took these Baofangs and I programmed just FRS frequencies in them for him. And then he said he wanted to be able to talk to his mom, who lives in Seattle. And I said, well, there's some ways that you can do that. The best way to do that would probably be get your ham radio license and then help her get hers. And then you could start utilizing repeaters in the area and stuff like that. He same as me, is always strapped for time, doesn't have a whole lot of time to mess around with anything. And so one day he calls me, he goes, hey, how far will these radios really go? I was like, well, I live, 3-4 miles from you. I'm pretty sure I could talk to you. And he's like, really? So we put it on an FRS frequency, and he stood outside, and he's like, and he was blown away that we were talking to each other on the radio. And that's enough that he started looking into, and I don't know how far he's going to get with it, but he started looking into getting his ham license. So that just is to kind of mirror what Jim had just said, is it just takes that moment in time where you can kind of get them hooked. And the beauty of this hobby is that, there's some people that all they can do is operate the one radio that they own. And that's totally okay. That's not a dig on them or anything. That's what they can do. And that's what they're interested in doing. And then there's people that are like engineering geniuses that just blow my mind hearing them talk, that just entrap you with everything that they say, and that have really invested a lot of their lives in being the best that they can as far as learning this hobby. So there's room for like everybody, and that's the cool part, is like there's so many different levels of experience that no matter who you talk to, you end up like learning something. There's not a whole lot of hobbies like that for me that I know of. Like usually you go into a hobby and the people that have been in it know the ins and outs of it, and that's it, and you know nothing, so you're learning, and then you know the ins and outs of it. Well, here it's just this totally broad spectrum of every type of person you could think of, and it's just a lot of fun. So hopefully these books helped everybody out and gave some people some things to think about. We hooked Fred. We got Fred. That was one win. We got him to go out and buy a book. So, well, it's approaching 9 o'clock, so I think we should probably wrap it up pretty soon. But I haven't heard anything from Connor other than I see his name. Are you still there, Connor?
He sent a message a long time ago that said he'd be right back, but somehow
He probably
I don't
felt-
think he's been right back.
I bet you he's asleep. He's probably like, if his camera just turned on right now, he's probably like curled up in his bed, sucking his thumb.
Maybe it's like
Honestly.
that. Maybe it's like on Discord. He hammed so hard his pants came off. So.
Yeah, it literally fell off. Yeah, that was funny. I should post that picture up right now live on YouTube. See if I can find. Oh man, if it was in the general chat, I would, but it wasn't. I'm not gonna be that mean to him. Well, anybody else got anything else to add?
I do,
What do you
because
got?
I do. I always have something.
Heck yeah!
So
I'll never ask that
so I-
question again.
So I have a 9-year-old granddaughter who I adore, and I get to see her every day, which is awesome. And she's always very intrigued with my radio that's sitting here all the time. It's on when I'm working and I'm listening. And if I'm not in a meeting, I'm listening. And a lot of times I'm talking because I'm working. It's part of my job, right? Sort of, it is. Anyway, so she seems intrigued, and I really want to get her to just key the mic one time and say hello or something like that. So last month's QST magazine, they always highlight somebody in the front 8 or 10 pages, some ham radio operator, or sometimes it's more than one, a husband and wife or whatever. So last month was this woman named Junie, N1DUC, and it's easy to remember because of what I'm going to tell you next. She is a big advocate for getting especially young girls involved in amateur radio, but anybody actually. She has ducks that she takes with her when she goes to like a parks activation, or she goes to special events or stuff like that. And she brings her ducks, and she's got one duck named Mochi, and the other one, I forget the name, but Mochi will talk on the radio. Yeah, an unlicensed duck on the radio. But when I showed that to my granddaughter, I showed her that article, and it has a picture of the ducks with her sitting with the ducks. And she's like, oh, I want to talk to the duck. I'm like, okay, I can arrange that. So I get on, I use Facebook to sell stuff on Marketplace, but I figured this gal was on there. I found her, and because she was announced that she was going to be doing a park activation, and I saw it. So I watched the Parks on the Air stuff. And so I was like, oh, there she is. Send her a message. And next thing you know, she's like, yeah, I'm going to be there. You know, we can connect. I'll be on 20 meters. And I was like, I don't have an HF antenna up right now. She says, well, that's okay. I've got an Echolink repeater. She lives clear across the country. She's in Connecticut. She goes, well, we can get on Echolink anytime. You can do Echolink, right? And I was like, yeah, I got Echolink. She goes, okay. So we're trying to schedule now a time where my granddaughter can talk to her and talk to the duck, by the way. But what a cool hook to get people interested, right? It's always interesting how everybody seems like they have sort of a different hook on, attracting somebody into the hobby. My way was walking around work with I don't have it right here. I've got a red handheld, bright red. And it's on my backpack, and my backpack is my go bag as well, my first aid bag and everything else. but I would have it on the outside on one of the molly straps. So everybody would ask, what's that? Is that a CB? Nope. Better than a CB. You know, open the door to the conversation. So anyway, it's just, I get real excited about that. And I know that's kind of our mission, is to, you know, just inspire people to try something new, or to become a ham, or to inspire others to help others become a ham, which is kind of what I am doing these days, more than doing it one-on-one with people, but talking to others who've been in the hobby for a few years that I Elmered in, and say, hey, what are you doing? Remember what I did for you? Pay it forward, go find somebody. You know, I'm sure you're a member of at least one club. I'm a member of 5 clubs because I'm a maniac, because I want to just be connected. I would just want to be connected with people, and they're all Bay Area and Sierra Foothills kind of clubs, but most of them I know people at. So it's just easy. And, you know, a club, what's that, 25, 35 bucks a year? Who'd you do? That's nothing. People blow that on, you know, 2 days worth of freaking Starbucks. So, you know, anyhow, that the N1DUC, look her up. She's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I think we're done for tonight. I will say one thing: if there's anybody out there that is a Fusion 360 nerd, I need your help. So if you know of someone who knows someone, I've got lots of questions. But I'm jumping into learning a little bit about AutoCAD, and it is like mind-numbing. It's really hard to do for me. But I don't think I have anything else. I appreciate everybody's input tonight, and thank you, Justin, for coming out. Any final words on that? All right, well, go ahead.
I will end with kind of where Jim was going. If you've been put down on the air, if you've ever been discouraged, right? Find your niche. There are so many repeaters, so many ways. Just get on the air, find your place, be yourself, because the world is huge. So don't worry about it. Get out there and ham harder.
Ham harder.
Amen, brother.
All right, we'll say 7-3 to everybody out on YouTube. Thanks for joining us tonight. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you all next week.
Hope Connor's okay.
Yeah, Connor.